My husband drove drunk, caused an accident, and then tricked me into taking the blame for him. When I got out of prison, he had remarried. His new wife was none other than my best friend. My 5-year-old daughter was chained with an iron cable on the balcony, living no better than a dog. Fearing my revenge, they ran me over and killed me with their car. I opened my eyes again and realized I had been reborn. My husband was kneeling in front of me, urgently begging me to take the blame for him. I kicked him, sending him tumbling. "You damn criminal, go to jail! Tim Nien, hurry up and go." I snapped back to reality, the scene before me so familiar that it stunned me. Could it be that I had been reborn? My husband, Truong V, was kneeling in front of me, clutching my hand, his face full of anxiety. "Hurry and change clothes with me. The police will be here soon, and it'll be too late." In my previous life, Truong V drove drunk, hit a person and fled, then forced me to take the fall for him. He used every manipulative tactic, muddling my mind until I actually put on the clothes he wore during the accident and went to the police station to turn myself in. I thought taking the blame for him was for this family, for our child. But I never expected Truong V to be such a beast. While I was in prison, he set a trap to divorce me and married my best friend. During my time in custody, he tortured my daughter, a 5-year-old child, chained by the neck with an iron cable, locked on the balcony, living no better than a dog. That was the precious child I had risked my life to have. Truong V, how could you be so cruel? I stared at the man in front of me, wishing I could rush over and tear him to shreds. Seeing me still standing motionless, Truong V grew anxious and reached out to pull at my clothes. I kicked him, sending him sprawling onto the floor. "You damn criminal, get yourself into prison and stay there." Truong V was stunned for a moment, then reacted, scrambling towards me on his hands and knees. "Wife, you have to think about our child. Do you have the ability to earn money to support our child in this family?" Was it me who couldn't earn money? Clearly, I earned better than Truong V, and my position at the company was higher than his. It was he who constantly demanded I quit my job to stay home and raise the child. When I actually quit, he then complained that I only knew how to spend money in the house. Now he's caused trouble and wants me to take the blame for him. A scum like him deserves to be thrown into jail. Truong V continued to use every method to brainwash me, and seeing that I was unmoved, he became even more frantic. I was afraid he might do something reckless in his desperation. This man was much more terrifying than I thought, so I decided to temporarily appease him. "Husband, I'm going to wash my face to sober up, and then I'll come out and swap clothes with you." Truong Vi stared at me, afraid I would run away. Seeing me enter the bathroom, he didn't forget to instruct. "Hurry up, okay." As soon as I finished speaking, I turned, locked the door, and immediately called the police. Less than 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door outside. Truong Vi panicked. He frantically banged on the bathroom door. "Tam Nien, come out quickly." I immediately stepped out of the bathroom. Truong Vi glared at me menacingly. Before he could open his mouth, I spoke first, cutting him off. "Who is knocking out there? Is it the police? Honey, quickly take off your clothes, hide in the closet, and I'll go out to deal with them." Truong Vi's expression softened a little, and he emotionally grabbed my hand. "Wife, I'm counting on you." I watched his retreating back, let out a cold laugh, and then turned to open the door. "Who are you looking for?" There were 3 police officers standing outside, their eyes sternly fixed on me. "Is Truong V at home?" I lowered my head nervously, my eyes unconsciously darting to the clothes on the floor. "No, he's not home." The police didn't say much. They simply pushed me aside and stepped inside. Before long, they found a naked Truong V inside the closet. They immediately handcuffed him, and I rushed over, eyes welling up with tears. "No, you can't take my husband away." The police ignored me and forcibly took Truong V away. My daughter heard the noise and stumbled out of her room. Looking at her tender, lovely face, my heart ached, and I hugged her tightly. She seemed frightened and softly asked, "Mommy, why are you crying?" I held her close. "It's okay. Mommy is happy. Reborn. I will settle every single debt those people owe me." Before dawn, there was a frantic knocking at the door. I soothed my daughter back to sleep, then got up and opened the door. My in-laws rushed in, full of fury, demanding an explanation. "Vi was arrested by the police, and you're still in the mood to sleep. These two shameless old folks, how dare they show their faces here?" In my previous life, Truong Vi unilaterally divorced me. My father, hearing the news, rushed to my in-laws' house to demand justice. Not only were these two old folks unrepentant, they even shifted the blame onto me, saying I didn't uphold my wifely duties and that my imprisonment tarnished the family's honor. This infuriated my father, causing his heart condition to worsen. After returning home, my father was heartbroken, and he passed away not long after from a heart attack. When he died, Truong V and his family didn't even bother to inform me, leaving me without a chance to see my father one last time. I hate these two wretched old people to death. Mom and Dad, Truong Vi having trouble is like the sky falling for me. How could I not be worried? Last night, I intended to turn myself in for him, but the police had all the evidence, so I was helpless. My mother-in-law coldly glanced at me. "Truong V told you to call me. Why didn't you?" No wonder these two arrived so quickly. It turns out Truong V panicked and called them himself. Now he's walked right into the trap. Perfect. I was afraid that you two are old and might be shocked by the bad news. My mother-in-law tried to say more, but I quickly interrupted. "Hold on. I have a best friend named Du Tian, whose family works at the police station. Let me call her and ask what's going on." Hearing me mention Du Tian, my mother-in-law's eyes lit up. Then quickly contact Tian Tian. "Tian Tian," she calls her so affectionately. It seems this old woman has long known about her son's affair with that conniving woman. I immediately called Du Tian, asking her to come over. I can only catch them all in one net when everyone is present. I don't intend to spare any of these scum. Less than half an hour later, Du Tian arrived at my house. What happened to Truong V? How could something like this happen? What a great performance. My own husband. And she's more anxious than I am. I forced down the rising anger. Looking at the people in front of me, I said, "Before you all arrived, I already contacted the victim's family. If we want them to sign a letter of forgiveness, we have to compensate them. 800,000 yuan. 800,000. Are they robbing us?" My mother-in-law jumped up in agitation. In my previous life, the reason I served such a long sentence was largely because the victim's family refused to reconcile. I always thought the other party just wanted me to go to jail, which was why they wouldn't sign the letter. It was only much later that I found out it was because Truong V refused to pay the compensation. He wanted me to stay in jail for a few more years to pay off his debt. Since God gave me a chance to live again, of course, I have to make Truong V face everything he deserves. Mom, rescuing Truong V is what's important now. If the victim's family agrees to reconcile and Du Tian's family helps out a bit, maybe this can be resolved smoothly. My mother-in-law glared at me with annoyance. Then why aren't you hurrying up to get the money? I frankly held out my hand. I don't have any money. Before my mother-in-law could erupt, I quickly turned to Du Tian for help. "Tian Tian, Truong V has always managed the money at home. I don't have a single penny. Can you lend me some first? Truong Vi will pay you back when he gets out." Du Tian acted reluctant, but couldn't withstand my pleading. She has a secret. She was in the car with Truong V last night when he caused the accident. In my previous life, I only found out about this right before I died. That's also why I immediately called her over. Right now, Du Tian is most afraid that Truong V, in trouble, will expose her, revealing their relationship. She currently works in a government agency, and if I make a fuss, her career will be over. Du Tian hesitantly said, I can only help with 200,000. I looked at her emotionally. Tian Tian, Truong Vi will definitely not forget your kindness. If Truong Vi really walks out of there alive, I'll kindly bring them together, a bitch and a dog, truly a match made in heaven. I shouldn't waste such a perfect pair. Having dealt with the mistress, I turned to look at the old couple in front of me. My mother-in-law brazenly stated, Truong V is facing such a big problem. Your father has to help too. He has a pension. Shouldn't he use it now? These wretched old people, even calculating my father's money. Mom, I've contacted my father. His pension money has been invested, and it will take a week to withdraw. A week later, Truong V would probably be in his grave by then. My in-laws were anxious and demanded that I hand over the 200,000 that Du Tian had just lent me, saying they would figure out the rest themselves. Guarding against me, I immediately handed over the money and also proactively provided the address of the hospital where the victim's family was being treated. Mom and Dad, hurry up and go. Even if you have to kneel or be scolded, you must make them accept the money and get the letter of forgiveness. Understand? Upon hearing this, a hint of fear flashed across my mother-in-law's face. I emphasized another point. You must properly appease the victim's family, and you'll have to visit them frequently afterward. You must make them forgive you, even if you have to work like an ox or a horse. A look of awkwardness crossed Du Tian's face. Then she turned to advise me. Xin Yan, his parents are old. It's not convenient for them to go. Why don't you go? But I hesitated, glancing at my mother-in-law. In just a second, she immediately stuffed the bank card into my hand. You go. I was secretly delighted, but I had to maintain a reluctant expression. I was so used to being bullied. How could my mother-in-law ever suspect me of playing tricks? Immediately after, she started scolding me again. Why are you still here? Don't you want to save Truong V anymore? I'm going right away. With that, I went back into the house, picked up my daughter, and prepared to leave. Seeing me take my daughter with me, my mother-in-law looked suspicious. Why are you taking the girl with you to see the victim's family? I feigned helplessness. Mom, Fifi is so young. Maybe when the other side sees a poor child, they'll reduce the compensation by a few tens of thousands. Hearing me say that, my mother-in-law nodded in approval. You still have some brains. Hurry up and go. I rushed out of the house with my daughter, not daring to linger for a second. My daughter is my biggest weakness. Only when I can bring my daughter and father to a safe place can I feel secure enough to play this hand against those scumbags. The first thing I did after leaving the house was to transfer all the money from the bank card. Looking at the balance in the account, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This 800,000, consider it compensation for my years of youth. Want Truong V out of jail, dream on. The show has just begun, and I will take my time playing with them. I disappeared all morning, and my in-laws almost broke my phone with calls. Du Tian also tried every means to find me. In the evening, I proactively contacted her. I sent her an address, instructing clearly, come alone. Absolutely do not tell my in-laws. There was a knock on the door. I got up and opened a small crack. Du Tian was standing outside. I scanned carefully, confirmed she was alone, and let her in. As soon as she entered, Du Tian unhappily complained, Tam Nien, what exactly are you doing? You don't answer calls. You don't reply to messages. Are you planning to disappear from the face of the earth? I crossed my arms over my chest, staring at her. Perhaps realizing her tone was too harsh, Du Tian immediately changed her voice. Tum Nien, it's because I was too worried about you that I spoke like that. Truong Vi cheated on me. I blurted out a cold sentence that startled Du Tian. She looked at me in shock. How do you know? I accidentally saw his transfer history on his phone and the couple's hotel he booked on Valentine's Day. I'm sure he cheated on me. It's just that I haven't found out who the other woman is yet. Hearing the latter sentence, Du Tian clearly breathed a sigh of relief. She asked me, so what are you going to do? I replied with a cold face. Truong Vi betrayed me, so he shouldn't blame me for being heartless. Let him stay in jail for a long time, and as for that mistress, I will definitely drag her out. Du Tian's face turned pale with fear, her eyes looking blankly straight ahead. I suddenly patted her shoulder hard, making her whole body jump. Tian! Tian! What are you thinking? Why do you look so strange? Du Tian was guilty, not daring to look me in the eye. It's nothing. I'm just surprised that Truong Vi also cheated. Humph. When the two of them were entwined, why didn't she feel surprised? Tian! Tian! Help me with one thing. I want to divorce Truong Vi. Tian immediately looked up at me. Divorce? But Truong Vi is currently detained. How can you two get a divorce? As long as I have proof that Truong Vi cheated, I can file for a unilateral divorce. Just the mention of proof almost scared Du Tian to death. She asked me what proof I had, and I said, Truong Vi once brought that woman to our new house to stay overnight. The surveillance camera at the new house must have recorded that scene. That house only Truong Vi and my in-laws have the key to. To get the evidence, I decided to bring a locksmith to break in. I asked Du Tian to help me by going to my in-laws' house and distracting them. Du Tian immediately agreed without hesitation, then asked me when I would return the 200,000 to her. The money she secretly spent on Truong Vi over the years was much more than this 200,000. Yet she still dared to ask for it back. But I can't turn against her yet. I said, I will pay you back after Truong Vi, and I divide the assets. Du Tian showed dissatisfaction. But because of her guilty conscience, she didn't dare to press for it. In the middle of the night, Du Tian called me, asking why I didn't go to the new house to get the evidence. Did she want me to walk into a trap? I, in turn, asked her, how do you know I didn't go? The other end of the line was silent for a long time, until I proactively helped her find an excuse. Tian, you must have been worried about me, so you secretly followed me to the house, and then saw me turn around and leave, right? Du Tian quickly replied yes, then asked me why I turned around and didn't go in. I said I saw a light inside the house and guessed someone was inside. Tian, tell me, was that a coincidence? Or did someone leak the news? Du Tian didn't dare to answer, hurriedly changing the subject. She asked me where I was. I didn't answer, made up an excuse, and hung up. I don't know how long I slept, when suddenly there was a frantic knocking at the door. I jumped up and opened it. My in-laws were standing outside with extremely grim faces. My mother-in-law glaring at me, her eyes full of fury. You bitch! You dare to run away with the money? As soon as she finished speaking, my mother-in-law pulled out a stick from behind her back and lunged at me to hit me. I reacted quickly and dodged. She lost her balance and fell to the ground, struggling to get up. She continued to attack me like a madwoman. Go Tum Nien, you vicious woman. You won't save my son. And you even ran away with the money. I walked over and sat on the sofa nearby, silently listening to her scolding. My in-laws found this place, surely thanks to my good friend Du Tian. Compared to my mother-in-law, my father-in-law seemed much calmer. He pulled my mother-in-law back, his tone full of sarcasm. Can't you see she's deaf? Stop wasting your breath. She cheated us out of money. Call the police and have her arrested. When Avi gets out of prison, he definitely won't spare her." My mother-in-law immediately nodded in agreement. "That's right. Call the police and arrest her. Send her to jail. Let's see how the dying old man and her little bitch of a daughter survive without this cheap mother. The wretched old woman, she hates me, which is one thing, but she even despises her own granddaughter." No wonder in my previous life, after I went to jail, she turned a blind eye to the cruel treatment my daughter endured from that wicked Du Tien. The anger in my heart flared up fiercely. With no place to vent, I raised my hand and slapped my mother-in-law hard across the face. She fell back onto the ground, staring at me in shock. "You dare to hit me." I rushed over and kicked her again. "I didn't just hit you. I kicked you too. You old hag, try opening your mouth to curse my daughter again. If it weren't for the fact that killing would land me in jail, I would have killed these two scumbags today." My father-in-law was furious, stomping his feet, and pulled out his phone to call the police. I roared angrily, "Call them! Let the police investigate the source of that money clearly." Hearing me say that, my father-in-law's hand froze, his eyes looking at me in surprise. I smirked coldly. "Why? Don't dare to call. Call the police. Tell them I cheated you out of money, and let them investigate where that money actually came from. And check the remaining money in your accounts thoroughly too." My father-in-law started to panic, his hand holding the phone trembling. What exactly do you know?" I replied coolly. "I slept in the same bed with Truong V anyway. I know a little about the dirty things he did. I didn't actually know the specifics of what Truong V did at the company. In my previous life, when I got out of jail, Truong V and they had already struck it rich. In just a few short years, they were living in villas, driving luxury cars, and owning tens of millions in assets. To take revenge on Truong V, I went everywhere to investigate and finally uncovered the fact that he was secretly transferring company assets. Before I could gather all the evidence, I was framed and murdered by Truong V and Du Tien. Last night, I deliberately had Du Tien lure my in-laws to the new house, while I went to their house to find evidence. Truong V hid everything from me, but he didn't guard against his own father. All the documents and evidence of his shady dealings were hidden at my in-laws' house. These two, father and son, their hearts are truly dark. The evidence in my hand is still not complete, but it's more than enough to scare those old folks. I spoke vaguely, but my father-in-law thought I really had evidence, and his face turned ashen with fear. He signaled to my mother-in-law, whose expression immediately changed, and she started to speak to me in a softer tone. "Tim Nguyen, you've been married into the Truong family for so many years. I've always considered you my own daughter. Now that Truong V is in trouble, how can you be so heartless? Think about it. He's Jiojio's father after all, isn't he?" I chuckled coldly, not bothering to hide my contempt. Fection. When he was messing around outside, getting involved with other women, did he ever care about my feelings? I intentionally pushed the conflict towards emotional and jealousy issues. My mother-in-law's attitude seemed to soften, and she started to coax me, advising me to forgive Truong V for the sake of our daughter. Does she even have the nerve to mention my daughter? Who was it just now who called my daughter a little bitch with her big mouth? What a truly shameless person. I didn't want to say anything more. "You two go back first. Let me have some peace and quiet." My in-laws were afraid I would call the police, so they didn't dare to touch upon the money anymore, made up some random excuse, and quickly retreated, seeing their frantic retreating figures. I guess they must be rushing to destroy evidence. Well then, let's see who is faster. "Tim Nguyen, there's news. Come here quickly." Receiving a call from my best friend Trio Yen, I immediately went to the hospital, living a second life. I finally truly understood who was human and who was a ghost. Trio Yen, Du Tien, and I grew up together in the same apartment complex since childhood. But I was always closer to Du Tien than Trio Yen. Du Tien once told me that Trio Yen was too arrogant and that I shouldn't be too close to her. Later, I realized it was because Du Tien was jealous of Trio Yen, because Trio Yen's family background was better. Whenever Trio Yen appeared, Du Tien was overshadowed, which was the real reason she didn't want me to associate with Trio Yen. In my previous life, when I was released from prison, the only person who helped me was Trio Yen. I didn't have a penny at that time. If it weren't for her taking me in, I probably would have starved on the street long ago. Team Nien, this... I turned around and saw Trio Yen. She handed me her phone, her voice filled with outrage. I never expected Du Tien to be so vile. Knowing you for decades, isn't she ashamed? In the video clip, my mother-in-law and Du Tien were arm in arm, walking into the maternity ward of the hospital together. In my previous life, when I was released from prison, Du Tien and Truong V's son was already 3 years old. In other words, she was pregnant right after I went to jail, not long after I was incarcerated. Truong V couldn't wait and came to me asking for a divorce. He said it was for the sake of our daughter's education, not wanting to have a record of her mother serving a sentence appearing on her enrollment documents. Thinking of my daughter's future, I agreed. But the truth was that Du Tien was pregnant, and it was a boy. That's why Truong V was in such a hurry to divorce and bring her home. With Du Tien's personality, as soon as she found out she was pregnant, she would definitely seek out Truong V. Now that Truong V was arrested, her target shifted to my mother-in-law. That day, after taking my daughter to a safe place, the first thing I did was find Trio Yen. She lives directly across from Du Tien's house. I asked her to monitor Du Tien's movements. Yen too, I truly thank you very much this time. Trio Yen patted my shoulder, comforting me. Between sisters, don't mention it. Du Tien is really too much. I hate people who stab others in the back like her the most. And you, what are you going to do next? To successfully get a divorce, I must have proof that Truong V cheated. The child in Du Tien's womb is the strongest evidence. With this child, plus the dashcam footage, my evidence is sufficient. I decided to divorce. Trio Yen nodded in agreement. Why keep a scum like him taking up space? Divorce him. And Du Tien, you must not let her off easily. That kind of person is too vicious, treating you like an idiot to play with. That wicked woman, of course. I won't let her go. Thinking of what she did to my daughter, I only wish I could skin her alive right now. My dad is in trouble. When I received the call, I felt like collapsing, falling to the ground. If it weren't for a kind person passing by helping me, I wouldn't have known how to get a taxi to the hospital. Yen too is my dad. Okay. In the hospital, I squeezed Trio Yen's hand, staring anxiously at the operating room door. Trio Yen didn't dare to answer my question, only continuously comforting me, while apologetically saying, Tom Nien, I'm sorry. I didn't expect to be followed. I can't blame Trio Yen for this. Truong V knows my hometown address, and he knows very well that my father and daughter are my weaknesses. So my hometown is inherently unsafe. Therefore, I asked Trio Yen to find a safe place and temporarily move them out of sight. I looked around, didn't see my daughter, and my heart immediately leapt into my throat. Where is Dio Dio? Dio Dio was snatched by her grandmother. I rushed to bring your father to the hospital and didn't have time to worry about the little girl. My heart was in turmoil. I wanted to rush to get my daughter back immediately, but I couldn't bear to leave my father, who was in the operating room. It must be Du Tien. Only she would pay attention to Trio Yen, thus tracking down my father's whereabouts. The anger in my heart immediately surged like a huge wave. If I don't tear that wicked woman apart, I don't deserve to be a daughter, nor do I deserve to be a mother. The surgery ended. Fortunately, he was brought in time, and my father's life was temporarily out of danger. Hearing this news, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. After asking Trio Yen to look after my father, I immediately rushed to my in-laws' house. I absolutely cannot let my daughter fall into the hands of those wretched people. As soon as they opened the door and saw it was me, my in-laws' expressions immediately darkened. What are you doing here? I tried to push the door open and enter, but my mother-in-law blocked me firmly outside. You bitch, the Truong family can't accommodate the likes of you. Get out of here. Lu Kui Fwong, give my daughter back to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for going all out against you. Facing my warning, my mother-in-law was not scared at all. A daughter is just an outsider, and following you, she'll only learn bad habits. Dieu is the Truong family's granddaughter. Time was pressing, and I didn't want to waste words on this old woman. You ignorant old hag. I'm asking one last time, are you giving my daughter back to me or not? Before she could answer, Du Tian's voice came from behind. Tam Nien, what are you doing? How can you talk to auntie like that? I turned around and slapped Du Tian hard across the face. I held nothing back, showing no courtesy. She clutched her face, staring at me in astonishment. Go, Tam Nien, are you crazy? You dare to hit even me. I hit you, you bitch. You know exactly what despicable things you've done. She was guilty and didn't dare to look me in the eye, but still tried to argue. What are you talking about? I don't understand anything. Then let's die together. Even if I have to die, I will drag all these scumbags down to hell with me. You don't know. Then open your phone and see for yourself. Everyone knows about the vile things you've done now. Du Tian glanced at me with suspicion, then hastily opened her phone. She stared at the screen in horror, her hand holding the phone starting to tremble. How can this be? You're crazy. I had sent the dashcam footage to the work group at Du Tian's unit. In the video, the two of them were wildly entangled in the car without any restraint. In the middle of the recording, Du Tian's seductive gasps were interspersed. You love me so intensely. Aren't you afraid of how you'll explain it to your wife when you get home? Truong Vai chuckled. Don't mention that old woman. It kills the mood. Her skin is saggy. She's not as good as my little vixen. Ha! So all my years of sacrifice, in Truong V's eyes. I was just an uninteresting old wife. I didn't expose them immediately after Truong V was arrested precisely to pretend to be friendly, stalling for time to gather all the evidence in my favor. That's right, I'm crazy. Driven mad by you people. My father and Dieu are my last limit. You dare to touch them, then let's die together. Seeing me approaching, Du Tian retreated step by step in fear, her eyes looking around wildly. Since when did you know about this? I grabbed her collar, grinding my teeth as I demanded, We've known each other for over 10 years. I always considered you my best friend. Why did you treat me like this? Du Tian, are you even human? Du Tian suddenly laughed. She even looked triumphant, staring at me with a mocking expression. Who told you to always show off in front of me? Talking about how much your husband loves you and how devoted he is to the family. I just wiggled my finger a little, and he obediently fell for it. I showed off. I considered her a close sister, sincerely hoped she would also find happiness, and even advised her to start a family early. Yet in her eyes, all of it became my showing off. Just because of that, she shamelessly seduced someone else's husband? You are a vile woman. Du Tian stomped her foot in anger. You better quickly withdraw that video and clarify that you deliberately set up a scheme to slander me. Otherwise, I will definitely make you regret it. I sneered. You reap what you sow. How thick-skinned is Du Tian to be able to say such things? Then you tell me, how do you plan to make me regret it? Du Tian's eyes turned vicious. looking at me coldly. I can make you never see your daughter again for the rest of your life. I panicked. The composure I had earlier immediately crumbled. I stared at Du Tian, my voice trembling with fear. My daughter is in your hands. What did you do to her? You're using my child to threaten me. Don't you think that's too vile? Du Tian nodded smugly. That's right. Your daughter is at my place. If you don't behave and do everything I ask, then don't blame me for being cruel to her. I turned my head to look at my in-laws standing behind her. No matter what, Dio is the Truong family's granddaughter. How can you treat the child like this? My mother-in-law laughed coldly and said, a daughter only costs money, but the one in Tian Tian's belly is the legitimate grandson of our Truong family. Hurry up and do what Tian Tian says. Or don't blame us for not holding back. You little brat, breaking her arms and legs is light. If you spoil our fun, I'll kill her. The wretched old woman, her heart is terrifyingly cruel. Du Tian impatiently urged me. She was like an ant on a hot pan now. Every second I prolonged the situation, more people would see her filthy face. Go Tim Nien. You better hurry up. Otherwise, wait and go pick up your daughter's corpse. I stared at her and burst into laughter. She looked at me confusedly, grinding out the words, "What are you laughing at?" I pointed behind her. Turn around and look. Behind her, several police officers were approaching us. Du Tian didn't understand what was happening, looking at me in surprise. You called the police? I raised my phone, which still showed the ongoing call. Tian Tian. I called the police when I arrived. Our entire conversation just now was recorded and monitored live. The fact that you and these two old folks kidnapped my daughter, I now have full evidence. You'd better behave. Did you really think I was an idiot? Knowing they kidnapped my daughter to threaten me, how could I foolishly surrender myself to death? On the way from the hospital to here, I had called the police a long time ago. Du Tian dared to send people to follow Trio Yen, and even dared to kidnap my daughter to threaten me. So of course, she must face the consequences of the law for what she did. If I had just reported that my mother-in-law was fighting for the grandchild, the police would only view it as a family dispute, and it definitely wouldn't make Du Tian legally responsible. Only when she personally admitted to kidnapping my daughter could she be imprisoned. Having lived two lives, no one understood Du Tian better than me. Her arrogance, her conceit, and the way she always looked down on me, all predetermined her tragic end. The police pulled out the silver handcuffs, intending to take Du Tian away. She panicked and went completely mad, stammering an excuse. Officers, she framed me. I really didn't. The police looked at her sternly. Du Tian, we found little Truong Dio, whom you forcibly took, at your house. Du Tian froze stiff. She hadn't expected the police to act so quickly. The reason I deliberately delayed Du Tian was to buy time, helping the police quickly track down my daughter's whereabouts and get her out safely. My daughter was the strongest card they held to control me, and they knew I would definitely come to my in-laws' house. Therefore, they would naturally not hide the child there, and the most suspicious place was Du Tian's house. When the police informed me via earpiece that my daughter had been found, I finally breathed a sigh of relief, no longer needing to play games with Du Tian, and immediately turned against her. Du Tian's face instantly turned ash grey. She stared at me blankly, then suddenly went mad and screamed, "No! I don't want to go to jail." No one expected Du Tian to attack the police, nor did anyone expect her to take me hostage to threaten them. Du Tian snatched a fruit knife from the dining table and pressed it straight against my neck. The distance between us was too close. Everything happened too suddenly, and no one had time to react. Du Tian was mentally unstable. She screamed at the police, "Get out of the way! Everyone get away from me! Otherwise, I'll kill her." The police tried to calm her down, avoiding any further provocation. I don't want to go to jail. Everyone get out of here. Du Tian swung the knife wildly, forcing the police to back away. The sharp point of the knife lightly nicked my neck, and blood immediately seeped out in drops. For my safety, the police dared not act rashly. Everyone spoke up to persuade her, but Du Tian's spirit had completely collapsed. She only wanted to take me hostage and find a way to escape. Right at the crucial moment, I suddenly looked up and shouted loudly, "Tian Tian, your mother is here!" Du Tian flinched, instinctively looking up. Seizing that split second, the police officer cooperating with me immediately lunged forward, pulling me to safety. Du Tian reacted, still struggling frantically. A painful scream rang out. In the struggle with the police, the sharp knife in her hand accidentally stabbed straight into her own abdomen. My mother-in-law, who was being restrained by the police on the side, saw the scene and her face turned pale, shouting loudly, "Call an ambulance quickly! My legitimate grandson cannot have anything happen to him." I went to the detention center to visit Truong V, bringing my lawyer with me. Through the glass, Truong V glared at me, his eyes full of malice. "You bitch, how dare you come to see me?" I signaled my lawyer to submit a divorce agreement, sign it. Seeing the agreement being passed over, Truong V laughed hysterically. "You want to divorce me? And you want the majority of the assets? Dream on! I'm telling you, if you want a divorce, I'll deliberately refuse to give you what you want." I looked straight at him, my eyes cold as ice. Was I blind before that? I didn't see this man was scum. I looked at Truong V coldly, every word clear, without any emotion. "Giving you the divorce agreement is just a formality. If you don't sign, I will sue in court. Your affair is already a fact. Divorce is inevitable." Truong Vi roared in anger. He banged the table wildly, screaming that he would kill me. Restrained by the guards, he immediately switched to a threatening tone. "I'll be out in just a few months. When I get out, you just wait and see if I kill you or not." I laughed, laughing at how pathetic and naive he was. "Do you think no one knows about the things you did? Want to get out of jail? 10 years from now." Truong V stared at me, his eyes full of panic and disbelief. "You despicable woman, what exactly did you do?" I said, "The USB drive you hid in your father's study. I already handed it over to General Manager Tran at your company." Truong V, who had stood up, immediately slumped back into his seat. No one understood what that meant better than him. He had secretly transferred company assets and embezzled project funds. After I submitted the evidence of his crime, the company immediately decided to deal with the matter. Over 10 million yuan in embezzlement, a large enough sum to keep Truong V in jail for 10 years without parole. He wants to take revenge on me. He can wait 10 years and then calculate. Truong V was scared. He started crying, begging for my forgiveness, even kneeling in front of me. "Wife, I was wrong. I only made a mistake that any man would make. You don't have to drive me to a dead end like this, do you? Wife, I beg you. When I get out of jail, I will definitely reform and be good." A moment ago, he was screaming to kill me. Now he's tearfully begging, calling me wife. He changes faces faster than flipping a book. It's just a pity that the true face of this kind of scum I've seen through long ago. Watching him cry so miserably, I only felt unbearable disgust. I didn't want to stay in this dreary place for a minute. Let him enjoy it himself. The agreement is here. Let me know when you've signed it. The scum continued to cry and beg, calling my name non-stop. I paused, turning back to look. He thought I had changed my mind, looking at me joyfully. "You thought about it, didn't you? You'll help me, right?" I smiled coldly. "I just forgot to tell you one thing." He was stunned and asked, "What is it?" I said, slowly. Du Tian was pregnant, with a boy. It's just a pity that she accidentally stabbed herself. Killing the baby, Truongvi went completely mad, like a wild beast charging towards me. But he forgot that we are now people of two different worlds. No matter how frantic he is, he can't do anything to me anymore. The glass of the visiting room separated us. Two different worlds. The rest of his life can only be spent in repentance and reform in the dark prison. Paying for all the sins he committed, stepping out of the detention center, I saw my father and daughter waiting for me. Thanks to timely treatment, my father's condition was controlled, and his health was improving day by day. As soon as my daughter saw me, she happily waved her hand. Dio wants mommy to hug. I bent down and hugged my daughter tightly. The joy of regaining what I thought was lost made the corners of my eyes red. I once said that I would protect my daughter so that she would be safe all her life, and I did it. My father saw my red eyes, his heart aching as he comforted me. Daughter, everything is over. Divorce is good. Don't be sad anymore. I shook my head. Dad, I'm not sad. I'm happy. From now on, the three of us, Dad, Dio, and I, will live together happily. That's the best. Reborn, the two most important people in my life are safely by my side. What could be happier than that? Now, even the tears I shed are tears of happiness. I vow to become the strongest support for them, never letting them suffer any harm again. Truongvi was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Dutien's crime was even heavier, and she was sentenced to 12 years. On the day of the verdict, Truongvi's parents fainted right in the courtroom. His father suffered a heart attack, and after being discharged from the hospital, he passed away within a week. His mother didn't die, but after successive shocks, she went insane. Following the court's judgment, Truongvi and I were officially divorced. Custody of my daughter, little Truongdio, was also granted to me. All of Truongvi's assets were frozen and seized by the court because they were involved in the financial fraud case. But this didn't affect me. I moved out of the Truong family home and back to my mother's home. Truyen also transferred back to me the 800,000 I had asked her to keep for me earlier. A portion of this money was put up by Du Tian, and the rest was transferred from my in-laws' accounts, completely unrelated to Truong Ve. With that money as a safety net, my life was much less burdensome. My father's health is improving every day, and he even helps me look after Dio when he's free. He takes and picks up my daughter from school every day, allowing me to work outside with peace of mind and pursue my own value. My salary isn't high, but it's enough to cover the family's living expenses. Most importantly, the company is close to home, and I have more time to spend with my loved ones. Although I went through a dark period, when the dark clouds dispersed, my sky brightened again. The future ahead is full of sunshine and hope. The end.